Hello. Welcome to How Are the Children Text Study Podcast. I am Pastor Lita Behrens at Our Saviors in Fort Collins.
And I am Pastor Bridgette Weir in Taylorsville, Utah. So
Yes, two
welcome.
very different places.
Very different places, but it's good to be together, right? No
Good to
matter
be
what place we're
together.
from, it's good to come together around the gospel text, right?
That's right.
Jesus gathers us. I think I read that somewhere.
Somewhere. So, we are today talking about Matthew 5, right after the Beatitudes.
We are. I'll pull up the
The
PowerPoint.
gospel for this week starts at verse 13. We're pulling up our PowerPoint.
Yep. I will. There we go. There we go.
And just a reminder, we focus in on a childist biblical interpretation, which is looking at the text for ways of identifying children or analyzing what was happening at that time, exploring where children would have had agency. And we also will use diverse lenses to get at this as well. And look more deeply into metaphors that pop up in the scripture. So we don't always hit every single one in each discussion, but we focus in. So we begin with locating the children.
Oh, sorry.
There
Let
we
me go
go.
back.
So let's go to.
Sorry. I wasn't sure how much you wanted to do.
I forgot how many slides there were.
There were. I can consolidate those. I can.
I could look at them ahead.
This is called work in real life.
That's right.
Maybe you all are familiar with this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so our gospel today, Matthew 5. I'll go ahead and read it.
Okay.
All right. You are the salt of the earth. But if salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything, but is thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid. People do not light a lamp and put it under the bushel basket. Rather, they put it on the lampstand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven.
The gospel of the Lord.
Gospel of the Lord. All right. Take it away. Bridgette.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, we've both kind of talked a little bit before we started about this is one where the connections to children are, it's not a stretch, but you have to dig deeper. You have to dig beneath the text a bit. And so we know they're in the crowds listening. We've covered that. I think they might connect with salt for food and other daily uses, right? Salt was a purifier. Salt kept, things like meat and probably some vegetables safe to eat for long periods of time. The other thing about salt that we were talking about is if you have not read the book Salt, The History of Salt, it's fascinating.
No.
Nerd alert. But it is about how salt used to be more valuable than gold. So
Okay.
Jesus is talking about value here as well, right? You are the salt of the earth. You are the worth of the earth, the value of the earth. And you are what preserves, what keeps God's word, God's love in the world. I wonder if kids would connect with salt just because they would have encountered that in their daily life. And just
Well, and
like,
it's easy to bring in the salt too, like
Well, yeah, like here's some
have some
salt.
salt and have some
Yeah.
light. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think about my little bonus grandbabies that they kids pick up on what adults think is valuable. Like they already have a little play. They're 19 months. And I watched the 19-month-old yesterday. We had the 4-year-old birthday party. So if I'm tired, hi, there's not enough coffee. Um, just play with the cash register. And it was a bluey one, so the bluey bucks. Like they sort of innately get this. So I wonder if kids would innately hear you are salt and think, huh, I might have some worth,
Yeah.
right? Do we tell our kids that uh they are more valuable to us than the money in our wallet,
Hmm.
right? Than all the things we buy and yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
and then as you talked about the same with light, talk about that because
Well,
there's a lot there
they'll
too.
definitely connect with light. I, I think one of the ways I experience talking with kids about light is having a night light and what
Yeah,
it does.
that's a good idea.
That seems to be their most familiar thing. Um, Even like they don't really have flashlights anymore.
No, I know.
Um, and
Darn
um,
phones.
so, but this concept of what light does
Mm,
and why they might need it or why they might find it valuable,
hmm
uh-huh, I think is very relatable. Uh, they can they've been in the dark, right?
Yeah,
They've been not able to see something,
yeah,
um, or they can close their eyes and imagine a little more easily. So I think when you have this salt and this light paired together, and then we're talking about what we're called to be
yeah.
and how salt and light just do what salt and light do.
Well, I
How do
think
we translate that, right? To
right, and I think about with salt and light. So what children are afraid of isn't the dark. They're afraid of being alone,
alone.
right?
Yeah.
And so I mean, they're kind of afraid of the dark. I don't want to negate. Yes, people can be afraid of the dark.
No, but
I don't want to, but it's
there's
really
a,
about they can't
mhm,
see, right? It's the lack of sensation. It's the lack of connectedness.
mhm,
And with salt, 1 grain of salt doesn't do a whole lot, right? We even have that phrase. Oh, I'll take that with a grain of salt.
mhm,
But it takes a, a few grains of salt together, right, to
mhm.
season food, to preserve, to and I think about that connection to the togetherness, that it's what we do together
Yeah.
that makes a difference. Yes, our 1 grain of salt matters. Yes, our one little light matters. And what those things really remind us of is our connection to God, to one another, and that we are never alone. One, there is, I mean, where there's 1 grain of salt, there's more, right? um, where there's one little flame, you know, beam of light, there's more, right? Whether it's stars or the moon or the sun, right? It's all, there's always more. And I think you can talk about abundance with
Yeah.
this as well, and being together um, is what kind of resonates for me. I'm not preaching this week, so
Oh, I
um,
am.
I know, yeah. Yeah, if I
Did you
were,
happen to look? Is it a plural you? You are the salt of the light. Yeah,
it
all.
is plural. It is you all.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is you all.
In that togetherness.
It
So,
is. Yeah. Yeah, I have some little Greek work here in a second. And I talk, they would hear the father language, right? Connection, or at
mhm,
least understand the importance of the male head of household, which links them to patriarchy and some of the dangers of that, even. They would, that would probably bring up a whole host of emotions, as it does for many adults as well, and many of us
mhm.
in the 21st century. So to be sensitive to that, and also the connection to our baptism liturgy, right? Let your light so
Yeah.
shine. You can, if you happen to have a baptism Sunday, there's your whole sermon, right? I
Yeah,
mean, you can,
exactly. I don't.
the connection to our sacraments, it's a great opportunity if you do like milestone ministry or some other kind of intergenerational or Sunday school or whatever you do for faith formation in your context, be a great week to talk about baptism and why baptism is an entrance into the community and not about whether we go to heaven or hell or any of those things, right? It's a great time to do a little theological depth. Anything you want to say about that as well, or we can go on to the Greek.
Yeah.
I looked up a couple of words. I was seeing if there's anything interesting in the Greek, and the answer is yes. Here's what I found interesting. Results may vary. I looked up that word fulfill, right? Because that's one of those words. I don't know about you, but when I read a text, there's always a word that sort of snags me.
Yeah.
And that fulfill snagged me. And it's plerou in the Greek, which means to be complete or to carry through to the end. So Jesus brings the law, right, to its logical conclusion of being loved and being in community. Children understand that rules are to keep them safe and because they are loved. What I didn't get to quite, I don't know if anybody else had a busy weekend, but welcome to our Monday morning realistic text study with Lita and Burgette. Welcome. But what I got to thinking about this morning on my run, when I do a lot of my processing, is kids know what it is to feel incomplete because they are constantly getting asked or being told, when you grow up, you'll understand. What do you want to be when you grow up? There's always like some other thing ahead of them that they will know more than, they will be more than. What if Jesus fulfilling the law, bringing it to its logical conclusion, to complete it, is to say, we are complete now. The law is complete in your hearing. And we are complete, whether we are 10 minutes old, 10 years old, 53 years old, right? Because the big secret is we never feel complete. Turning 18 didn't make me feel better. Now, I will say turning 30 made me feel better as a woman. I felt like turning 30, I felt like people finally took me seriously.
Okay.
But if we're always waiting to be fulfilled or complete, Jesus has a word about that. It says, hi, hello. The law was never meant to be this thing that you attain by and by and by. It's fulfilled in you now, right? I think of the Shema, right? To love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, body, and strength. That is complete. It is inside you. You're not waiting on anything else or anybody else, right?
Yeah.
God says, God is one and we are one. And Jesus talks about that throughout the Gospels. And I think particularly about John 17 in the high priestly prayer, right? Make them one as we are. Like, when are they going to figure out that they are beloved and whole? When are they going to figure out that they are loved, to love themselves as much as God loves us?
Yeah.
Right? That's wholeness, is to love ourselves and each other as much as God loves us. So that's what I was thinking about this morning. If I were preaching, I think that's the route I would go. Because that's what's snagging me, is we're always looking, and that's capitalism, right? If you do not follow therapist Jeff, or is it Jeffrey? I posted this on my Facebook. He had a great video this morning of the wellness industry to fascism pipeline, where it talks about purity. He's like, yeah, we talk about purity and contamination. It's the same framework when we're talking about impure culture and then, impure foods and then impure people to keep out, right? It's the same framework, different subject. And that got me, thinking about, that feels like a compliment to this, right? is we're always looking for something to fill us, and then we get all pearl clutchy about what that is. And Jesus even is like, the unclean hands and the contamination is not the problem. Right?
Yeah.
Y'all
Yeah.
have bigger problems.
You have bigger problems.
Yeah, it's how you treat each other, so yeah, anyway, that was a little aside. Welcome to my
Love it.
brain before a lot of coffee. But yeah,
Yeah.
what are you thinking about that? Because I saw the
I
light bulb go
really,
off.
I really like that concept of what fulfill means. And this whole idea of the law, I like what you wrote there at the end, that children can understand rules being to keep them safe
Yeah,
and because they are loved.
yeah,
Um, I I think that can really tie into a lot of the rules they experience in their daily life.
yeah.
And I guess I really think of it, what really was popping into my head, that rules part and that safety part, um, is that, they have to do these lockdown, lockout drills,
Ugh.
and they can be really traumatizing.
Yeah.
I have a kiddo here who left, it was a preschooler, and it scared her
Oh.
so much that she really had a hard time going back.
Mm.
Um, and so how do there are kids right now, depending on how much they know or don't know about what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
What does that safety or fulfillment or love look and feel like to them?
Yeah. I mean, what sparked when you were saying that is kids feel, or at least I did, that rules feel like um, someone telling you you're not enough.
Mm.
You're not complete. You're not whole. There's something you're lacking. What if we could, I don't want to say twist, but flip it, right? Is like rules are because the world is lacking from
The
completeness and
world is
whole,
lacking, not you.
not you, right? But I think
Yeah.
rules always felt so personal. Well, rules kind of do still feel personal to me. That's
Yeah.
my own work. But what if we can sort of flip that for kids? That
Mm-hmm.
you are lovely. The world is a mess. And we talked about that yesterday in my children's sermon. I had a little heart to heart about all the mean words and horrible things that adults are volleying around
Mm-hmm.
like it's no big deal, and it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think um, we are working on here's something we love, is the Love Casts Out Fear project that the ELCA clergy is putting together. I'll
Yes.
put the link to that in the PowerPoint when we're off. I forgot to do that. But we're making Valentines to send to Minnesota to folks that are impacted and hearing terrible things about themselves. And some congregations are writing Valentines to ICE to be like, love your neighbor and walk away, right? You don't have to do this. This is a job. You can quit.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that my children at church yesterday wrote on their Valentines, one mom looked at me and said, can we just put the kids in charge of the world? I'm like, yeah, that would.
Yeah.
Because the adults, we've got nothing. Yeah. So this is a great opportunity in this Sermon on the Mount that we've got one more week before we do the Transfiguration.
Yeah.
Is a sermon is the good news of Jesus Christ, and kids innately carry that in them as well, wholly and completely.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
So that's what I'm thinking. Any other thoughts on this before we move on to things we love?
No, I'm ready to
Okay.
move on to things we love.
Yeah, okay. So I am going to stop our share. So do you I'll do my thing, mine is longer. I'll go ahead and so the things that I'm loving this morning is on my run. And I run in the dark. And so, because it's dark here, where I live in Salt Lake is up against the Wasatch Front. So we are just now getting sun over the mountains at 9 o'clock. So it stays pretty dark where I live for a long time in the winter. Um, the valley gets sun, but it takes another hour for where I live to get sun. So I was running and it was like after 7. So, but it was still pitch dark. And there was a dad with a baby in a stroller and maybe a kindergarten first grader walking, and she's in a school uniform and walking the dog. And I'm like, ooh, there's some babies that were up early and they had nothing better to do. And I'm running and we wave because I live in a friendly neighborhood. And all of a sudden, this little girl goes like this. And I was like, oh, you're a hugger. And I was like, I'm a stranger. I'm just going to keep. And then there was something that made me stop. And I said, well, let's high five, right? Because I'm like trying to be like stranger danger, right? And Dad is seemingly having a problem with this. Like, I don't know. So this little girl comes running. And then, mind you, I don't know them. Comes running to me and I try to high five and she bypasses the high five like, what? And bear hugs me. And I'm like,
oh my God.
I know. And I'm like, oh, you're a hug. And Dad's like, she's a hugger. And I was like, okay, I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to be like the safe adult, right? I'm like, my name is Bridget Weir. I live just right over there. Right? I'm trying to be like, I'm not a creepy like old lady. And Dad seemed like this apparently is just what this little girl does. And I told the dad, I said, that is the gospel for me this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I will carry, she doesn't know me and she wanted to hug me and show me love. And I'm like, we hate people for no reason. Why can't we love people for no reason?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
oh, that's lovely.
Right? I'm like, that's a whole sermon right there.
Mm-hmm.
That was the whole gospel for me this morning. And it kind of reaffirmed we should just put kids in charge of the world for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, could we just do that? So that's what the things that I love today.
Lovely. It's in line with that. I have this mug from Illustrated Ministry.
Yeah.
So it's got Jesus and then the big old "You are loved."
Yes. So. And coffee is like a warm hug.
It is.
Yeah.
Coffee, tea, whatever you put in here.
Whatever beverage you put into it. And no judgment for whatever beverage you put into it. So those are the things we love today. The other thing we want to mention is, yes, we will do Transfiguration, and then my congregation and Lita's congregation will be jumping to Sanctified Arts. Tell me something good for this season of Lent. And that will be our focus for this text study.
Yes.
Again, we try to keep it short. So even if you're here to learn more about how to think about childist biblical interpretation, we'll keep doing that. Mm-hmm. But we will be off lectionary for 6 weeks. So we want to give you the heads up on that.
Still very Lenten themes.
It is actually. I mean, there will still be good connections, and we'll try to be mindful of those connections to the lectionary for those that are staying. Because the lectionary I love Sanctified Arts, but I think we get the woman at the well this lectionary.
Oh.
And Lazarus.
Yeah,
right. So John 11. So, it's always a mixed bag, and it'll come back. That's the good news.
Right.
So it'll come back. So that's what we are doing. And if this is helpful and blesses your pondering of the gospel or a devotion or your text study for the week, like and subscribe.
Yes,
and and it's always a joy to be with you. And if no one else tells you that that you are amazing and doing a great job of sharing the good news of Jesus Christ with your community, let us affirm that for you. We know this is hard. Mm-hmm. We know this is hard right now. And that's partially why we started this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. We're with you. We're in solidarity. And what we can do is proclaim the good news to the poor, the oppressed, the imprisoned, the sick, right? This is what we do. And so thank
Yeah.
you for taking that seriously. So we will see you next week, and blessings on your proclamation.
Yes. Have a great week.